Well, I don't know how many years on this earth I got left. I'm gonna get real weird with it.
Greetings, children of the screen, your friendly neighborhood nerd scum here, and I am joined once again by...
Taylor.
And... Happy Alien Day! Today we're taking a look at the Alien Resurrection extended cut with a runtime of 1 hour and 49 minutes. Originally released in 1997, rated R, the film is directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet, director of Amélie and City of Lost Children. The film is based on a screenplay written by Dan O'Bannon, Ronald Shusett, and Joss Whedon, with a cast that includes
Winona Ryder.
Sigourney Weaver,
Ron Perlman.
Dominique Pignon,
Kim Flowers.
Gary Dourdan,
Dan Hedaya.
Brad Dourif,
Raymond Cruz.
and motherfucking Michael Wincott.
Oh shit. How you been?
This fourth installment in the Alien franchise sits with a critic review of 54% and a whopping audience review of 39%. Alien Resurrection, the extended cut. This version's a little bit longer, and overall the film is set 200 years after the previous installment, so they kind of had carte blanche to do whatever they wanted, which created, let's call it, an interesting movie. But before we get into what we really thought about the movie, why don't we take a look at what other people had to say about the movie, but in the most appropriate voices for their review. The best way to enjoy this so-so effort is to treat the whole shindig like a football match everybody already knows the result of. Cheer on the dumb humans, boo the even dumber aliens.
Unfortunately, Weaver and Jeanette's efforts are shortchanged by the ineptness of Joss Whedon's script that seems to find a way to make action sequences unexciting.
This fourth chapter comes off like the first fully postmodern Alien film. Not Alien multiplied or cubed, but a synthetically reawakened, groggy enough to sleepwalk through our memories of the first three as in a dream. Whoa.
One of those rotten sci-fi horror movies in which nonsense abounds.
I didn't realize until later how stupid the whole thing was. Chalk up one more for Sigourney Weaver's acting, and chalk up one more reason to stop making sequels already.
It's an abomination that, its central monster deserves to be sucked out into space from a tiny opening and forgotten for all time.
Right on, so now that that is out of the way, it should be said that not all of them are completely off base in some of their opinions. But, hey, Taylor, what the fuck happened in this movie?
Oh, you know, the normal. Sigourney Weaver came back as a not-so-real Ripley, right? Okay. And then, for some reason, she's really horny.
That checks out.
Yeah. And then, for some reason, that makes everyone around her really horny.
That doesn't check out, but that's what happens, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's aliens, obviously. Okay,
Yeah.
It's an alien movie. And then there's a really weird one at the end.
Also Michael Wincott.
Yeah, Hinton.
So yeah, it's 200 years after the last installment in this franchise. They scraped up some of Ripley's DNA from that planet, they cloned her, they got an alien inside of her when she was cloned, and that's really what they're after. It's a queen, it's gonna breed, but also Ripley got some of the alien's DNA. It's directed by a French guy. It gets really fucking weird. Okay? Taylor, other than what can be gleaned from your description of the events of the film, what'd you think?
It was like a roller coaster that I really wanted to get off of, but I just couldn't because it was wild.
It's like every roller coaster I've ever been on. I hate them. But I get the analogy. It works. It works. Because, yeah, the movie, it's up, it's down, it's right. It's a barrel of frickin' monkeys. It's all over the place.
And there's a big loop.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in the movie to really, really enjoy. And then there's a lot of things in the movie. There's very little in the movie that's so bad that it's good, but there are a lot of things that are like, why? Like, of all the decisions in the universe that you could have made, why that one? And 9 times out of 10, it comes back to French director. But I didn't have anything to follow that up with. I just didn't want to sound like I was being prejudiced against French people, which clearly I am. Fuck you, Frenchies.
But we also have to blame Sigourney Weaver a little bit.
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver and her dump truck full of money that they were given for this movie, and her middle-aged horniness. What's it called? Pure de fleur de loup or something like that? It's French. It means like when two crazy people come together. You saw the episode of Criminal Minds. You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking
so
about.
like Sigourney Weaver and Jean-Paul are just like Alien 4, and then also Joss Whedon's back in the corner jerking off or whatever nasty shit he does with his script, you know. We're not going to talk about Joss Whedon very much in this video. Other people have talked about him a lot more, so we're not going to really go into it. But yeah, this movie's weird, and like, I feel like mostly it's Weaver and the director trying to meet halfway with the studio, but there's definitely also some Joss Whedonisms thrown on top of this. But like, yeah, you know, whatever. Fuck it. He wrote the fucking thing. What are you gonna do? It has to be mentioned at some point, so we're mentioning it, and we're moving the fuck on now.
Moving on with their lives.
They brought her back.
You're not Ripley. Who am I?
To resurrect an alien species.
The Queen. She'll breed. You'll die.
Now, someone or something is gonna wish they never did. Sigourney Weaver. Winona Ryder. Alien Resurrection, rated R.
So, as we said, this is a very mixed bag of a movie. What were some of the things that you really honestly enjoyed out of it?
Definitely the sexual tension between Winona Ryder's character and Sigourney Weaver's character for no reason.
Yeah, and it should be mentioned that as much as we're making fun of how horny the movie is, it is actually one of the more interesting and entertaining aspects of the movie. Like, it comes out of nowhere, and it's in a franchise that is predicated on basically metaphors of sexual assault. It is the most out of left field thing you can imagine, but within the context of the movie, it is really entertainingly weird. Sigourney Weaver and Winona Ryder's chemistry is definitely strange, and it has two levels. It's 0, and then it's, are they about to fuck? And there's no middle ground.
None at all. Like, I was, through the whole movie, I was like, when are they just gonna kiss?
I mean, when they finally make it to Earth in the end, we all know how the movie should have ended. Not with them sitting on a planet talking about the army being there. No, they'd all be fucking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And an inside source, which means I don't have to prove that it came from anything at all, apparently according to Twitter, an inside source told me that that was the original ending for the movie. Now, was that Joss Whedon who wrote it, even though I said I was going to mention that fucker again? Or was it the weird French director who I'm clearly prejudiced against? There's no telling, but that's definitely not a thing that I just made up right now. Okay, so, inexplicable sexual tension between those two characters, that's one. What's another thing that really worked for you?
The CGI was actually pretty good. Like, for the time.
For its
definitely.
time.
Yeah.
It's a little jarring in places to modern audiences, sure. As someone who saw this movie in the theaters, mind you, I was very young, but I saw this movie in the theaters. At the time, I was legitimately impressed with the aliens. There's some other CGI things that even as a kid I was like, that's, what's going on there? I didn't realize this was Lost in Space, but for the most part it looks pretty good, and I think that they do a really good mix of the practical with the CGI. Like, there's never a shot in the movie where it's a CGI alien where I think, well, why didn't you just use a practical effect for that? Like, anytime it could be a practical effect, it is a practical effect. But there's no way in hell you're going to get a stunt performer to wear that costume that already weighs like 80 pounds and it's made of foam rubber which just absorbs things, and get them to swim underwater and not like kill somebody. And also I find that, like, because you're in the water, you have like, it's not a direct clear sight, you know? It's like there is water in between that provides this kind of murkiness that kind of helps hide the rough edges of the CGI, and they can just kind of blur that stuff a little bit. Not only is it pretty good for its time, they knew what their limitations were and did their best in most cases to add elements to the shots that would like defuse it or kind of limit how bad it looked. Like, they knew how to smooth off the rough edges. The effects in general, like both practical and CGI, look pretty solid. Okay, those are two really solid picks, so what do we got for your third one?
The death scenes in the whole movie
Okay, yeah.
are fucking hilarious.
Sure, yeah. That's not necessarily what you want from an Alien movie all the time, but
yeah.
fair. Fair.
Like, they're supposed to always be, like, tense, and, like, you're like, no! But quite a few of them, you just can't help but laugh because of the way they die.
Well, yeah, and, like, the quality of them, again, is pretty high, speaking again to the effects. This movie is a perfect representation of where Alien, as a franchise, was at the time. It had become a household name. It had become, like, one of those juggernaut of kind of, like, weird outskirts pop culture in the same way as something like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street. You get to a certain point in these franchises and you can't really milk any more horror out of it, or at least you don't think you can, so you start leaning into, well, what are people really here to see? It's like, oh, they want these things, and among those things are, like, creative or interesting kills. They want to be entertained by the kills. So yeah, like, a lot of the kills in this, it's like, why is there a scene where an alien uses their inner mouth to press a button and freeze a soldier? Like, they showed the alien learning that, that's fine, right? But it has hands!
Yeah.
Why does it just use its fucking hand? But the point is, like, at this point, the aliens, they're not really treating them so much like the scary monster, they're treating them like the cool creature. And that's definitely a turning point that happens in this movie that we see then further explored in things like Alien vs. Predator. Like, you fucking took all the good ones, so whatever. Dude, I really enjoy this movie, and one of the main reasons I enjoy this movie, which is gonna make sense, I love how fucking weird this movie is. Like, again, I've been making fun of it the whole time, but, like, this movie is fucking bananas. Like, all the Alien movies are weird, but, like, this movie is fucking bananas, batshit, banana pants, crazy town. Okay? Like, it's nuts, dude. The fact that this movie is so weirdly horny and out of place horny, the fact that the whole movie is wet. Like, the aliens have always been dribbly, but this whole movie is just soaking. It's like a college girl at spring break. It's just swampy, is what it is. There's, like, the scene where Sigourney Weaver falls through the grates and then is, like, absorbed into a giant alien asshole before being, like, carried to the queen, like, all lovingly by a Xeno. Which, by the way, like, I guess these Xenos can walk on their hind legs. We don't actually see it, but it's clearly, like, cradling her like a baby and walking. So, you know, I guess they can do that in this one, too. And again, like, all the weird-ass camera angles that really get you in this, like, crazy, visceral headspace that the movie's trying to put you in. It has, again, like you were talking about the kills, like, that's part of it, too. It's like, why does the alien do that shit with its fucking mouth, inner mouth? It doesn't make sense, but it's fucking weird, and it's still a really cool, fun sequence, you know? Freaking, goddamn, Brad Dourif just fucking, like, killing it this whole movie. Like, by the beginning of the movie, he's just kind of playing, oh, he's a scientist guy, he's doing all the science, like, yes, he's very invested in his work. Then the moment you get him alone with an alien, he becomes a freaking sex pervert, you know, who's just like, all like, it's like he's watching a Coin Girl in the Peep Show booth or something.
And he looks around.
Oh, yeah.
To make sure
Yeah.
no one's looking.
Oh, yeah, he looks around.
He knows what he's about to do is
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, he knows it's weird. I mean, he's just like, I'm here for it. And then, like, when the alien rejects him, he gets all pissy and, you know, uses the thing. And by the end of the movie, he is in a cocoon, doing his Chucky voice from Child's Play, talking about how the fucking Ripley gave the alien a human reproductive system. And all this stuff, and it's just like, holy shit, dude, like, you ran the gamut here, like, you swung for the fences. You're like, this is an Alien movie, and it's Alien 4. fuck it. He's like, I've been in lots of number 4 installments. And he's like, you gotta have fun with it. Wasn't that number 4? I think he was also in either Critters 4 or Leprechaun 4. I can't remember which one. They're both in fucking space, so it doesn't goddamn matter. He's in space here too, so... Chucky hasn't gone to space yet. When are we gonna get Chucky in space? They got that shit. Never mind, that's not important.
He needs to get all of his franchises in
He's
space.
a space. Yeah, Brad Dourif needs to go to space. People of America. We need to send Brad Dourif to space. The movie's weird on every level, and it's one of those things that if you were to take this exact same movie and remove all that weirdness from it, it would be boring as shit. Even if you kept the same visual style, but just removed all the weird stuff and just replaced it with more generic action beats or even character beats, like, the movie would still not be entertaining. Like, that weirdness, that, like, off-kilterness, that fact that, like, you go into a scene expecting one thing and you never know when at, like, any second the scene could automatically just take a fucking hard left into almost camp territory. You know, like, why is there a fucking basketball scene in this movie? There's an alien, I can tell you why there's a basketball scene in this movie. It's because the movie came out in 1997. And in the 90s, basketball was fucking huge. It was like top of the fucking world. Basketball was a big deal, but it's a fucking alien movie. And on top of the fact that, like, why is there, like, a fucking basketball scene in this alien movie, which leads to, like, a weird, like, erotic fight sequence? But then Sigourney Weaver performs, like, a fucking behind-her-back three-point shot that she does for real.
Flawlessly.
Like, fucking for real. They had multiple cameras on, and when you watch the outtake footage, you can see Ron Perlman, like, break character the moment it goes into, like, everybody on set just, like, cheers out loud, but Ron Perlman's on camera, and you can see him hold it together for, like, a second, and then, like, whoa! And it's just like, not only why is that scene in this movie, but why did you go the extra mile on it? Like, it's such a weird decision. Like, thank the fuck Christ they did, because again, that scene is marvelous and, like, bizarre and baffling and entertaining on so many levels. But that is just one of the kind of weird off-the-wall decisions that were made while making this movie that make it this just, like, clusterfuck of engagement where you're just like, I don't know what the fuck's happening or what the fuck's about to happen, but I'm in for the ride, man. It's like you're saying a roller coaster, like, and I know that it's a roller coaster that not everybody was down for. I know this because most of the time I don't like roller coasters. Not the metaphorical kind, the literal kind of roller coaster. The point is, this roller coaster I'm fucking here for. And for the second thing, I have this weird thing about movie franchises. I know I'm in the minority here, but for some reason, most people, when they go see a sequel, they want the exact same movie but bigger. And I don't want that. When I go see a sequel, I want either the same characters or the same premise in a completely different movie. And the Alien franchise has delivered that. And the things I really enjoy about this movie is what most people hate, is that it is so different from every other Alien movie that's come before it. Like, it is its own beast, completely, and every Alien movie has been, so that is only fitting. Mind you, again, that doesn't mean that I agree with all the decisions that they made, and I'm not saying that people need to just get on board with the fact of it's not what they wanted it to be. Although, yeah, actually, that is what I'm saying. Just fucking get on board with it, alright? The movie's been out for frickin', what, over 2 decades now? It's time for us to stop being angry at the movie it was supposed to be and appreciate the things that are there for the movie that it is. And just kind of have fun, because that's all this movie is supposed to be. It is the culmination of this becoming an iconic franchise. It is popcorn fun, with just weird French Sigourney Weaver horniness all over the place. And it is so weird and so different that it really does there's no other movie in this franchise, or really even in any other franchise, quite like this. The director's visual style brings something completely unique to this installment of the franchise. There's nothing in this franchise that looks or feels like this movie. And when you're going from the previous movie that was like such a stripped down, uber depressing, just like grimy, sickening kind of tone and feel and look. Going into this that still has a lot of those same basic color palette levels, but uses them to do something kind of quirky and almost whimsical in places is actually kind of refreshing to a certain degree. And I also can see the film trying to spread out its branches and like really feel the audience out and see how far the franchise could really stretch. Like, it's this movie where they're attempting to see, can we just turn this into like a mainstream action movie franchise? Can we Fast and Furious this fucker 20 years before that's, or 30 years before that's a fucking thing? That's what they're trying to see, and unfortunately at that time the audience is like, no, you can't do that.
This is not what we asked for.
Right. So, whereas, like, a lot of people see it as one of the biggest weaknesses of the movie, I actually think one of the strengths of the movie, and one of the things that makes it fit in so well in the Alien franchise, one of the things that makes me really like it in the scope of the franchise, is that it is just so fucking different.
Come on now, give me the ball. The hell are you? Something predator.
Alien Resurrection.
That's right, folks, it's time for
Alien Trivia!
The studio wanted to cut the scene preceding Ripley's encounter with the alien queen because of its rather sexual nature. They decided to keep it when Sigourney Weaver threatened to not promote the film if the scene was cut.
Hey yo! Sigourney Weaver was the one that was horny through.
Yeah, okay. I guess we now have an answer to why the movie is so horny. Sigourney Weaver and a French director.
Makes sense. Everything makes sense now.
I appreciate it much more now. Sigourney Weaver originally refused to do a fourth Alien film. When asked why she changed her mind, she replied, "They basically drove a dump truck full of money up to my house."
Fuck yeah.
Oh, and I was going to mention this while we were watching the movie, but I couldn't remember which one it actually was. But yeah, it was actor Ron Perlman nearly drowned while filming the underwater sequence. At one point when trying to resurface, he hit his head on a sprinkler in the ceiling and it knocked him out cold. He was rescued by the nearby film crew.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Ron Perlman goes hard.
I'm very glad he's okay. I'm very glad you're okay, Ron.
Sigourney Weaver signed on to the film largely because of one scene in particular, when Ripley 8 encounters her previous 7 aborted genetic incarnations. And you can tell, because she fucking brings it in that scene.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's definitely some scenes in the movie where you could go, I don't know about that choice in your acting right there. Like, it's not bad, but that's a weird choice that you made.
Yeah.
But in this scene, it's just like, yep, that's what you do with that scene, and she fucking goes there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right on, children of the screen. So, that was Alien Resurrection. Taylor, final thoughts?
It was great. Just all around. Honestly, I would recommend it to watch it at least once if you've seen all the other Alien movies. Even if you won't like it, just watch it once.
Agreed. Yeah, again, this movie is super fucking weird. It is very different than all the other Alien movies. It is meant to be a fun ride, and if you go into it with that expectation, then I think you're going to be okay. You know, knowing what it is, getting a full view of it, and just diving in, I think it can be a lot of fun. And if it's one of those movies that you've steered clear of because you've heard about it talked in like the same ranking as like the AVP movies or, you know, Alien Covenant or Prometheus, then screw that stuff. Watch this movie the same way that you watch Fast and the Furious or a freaking MCU movie, and you will have fun with it. It's not as good as some of those, but the point stands.
My mommy always said there were no monsters, no real ones. But there are.
Who are you?
Ripley Ellen, Lieutenant First Class, number 36706.
Ellen Ripley died 200 years ago.
It's a queen.
How did you know that?
She'll breed. You'll die.
Your attention, please. Non-human presence detected. Evacuation.
I heard you, ran into these things before.
That's right.
What did you do?
I died.
Who are you?
Right on shown on the screen, our Alien Day celebration video, Alien Resurrection, just for you. Hope you guys enjoyed that, and thank you very, very much. Have a good one.
Bye!
Let's go out. We're gonna go out on dancing aliens.
Goodness.
I'm gonna dance, and then the CGI aliens are gonna dance.
No.
Come on.
No.
Come on.
No.
Come on, we're
No,
dancing.
I'm good.
We're dancing.
I'm all good.
We're
No.
dancing. We're dancing.
No.